Hello and welcome to Warcraft Daily for today, the 26th of August 2013. So in today's news, there really isn't, there's not much news, but there's loads of different interviews and things going on. And the plan is, today I'm going to go over the lore and story stuff, and tomorrow will be some more of the PvP things. So right now, let's talk about lore. So, your man, Cossack, was being interviewed by Jesse Cox yesterday, I believe, on youtube.com/omfgcat, and now I've pretty much transcribed the whole thing. And I've got all the interesting stuff, the points to take away, and you'll get to see my thoughts on everything. So yeah, should be a pretty interesting episode actually. Now, first of all, we have the current sort of stuff, 5.4, you know, that kind of thing. Now, they said they felt it was important that this was in relation to how quickly they said the Garrosh should be the end boss and that he would be killed. So they felt like it was important they said that because a lot of people saw Pandaria and thought, well, this is just going to be a comedy expansion. So they wanted to pretty much go out there and say, whoa, you guys, there's serious stuff going on. Look, we killed Garrosh. And I suppose that did work. I think earlier they had said that Pandaria wasn't really going to have any specific enemy. That, however, later changed into Garrosh being the main enemy. And I think they needed to say that in order to clear up what people thought about the expansion. As for whether it was the right decision or the wrong one, well, we don't really know how it would have played out if they didn't talk about Garrosh being the end boss, so it's quite hard to know. Now next, Metzen said that this expansion was the prelude to a war, but Cossack pretty much said that was Metzen talking about 5.0, and that 5.4 is definitely the war. And I think it's rather unfortunate because I think one thing that Warcraft's really done an awful job of the whole time is the war bit. You never really feel like a war, you always sort of feel like, you know, there's interactions with a few special characters, but there's never a traditional war. You know, look back in history. War, there are 10,000 soldiers on this side, there are 10,000 on that side, then they attack each other, and whoever, you know, has the best tactics, arms, strategy, etc. wins. There's never been a war like that in however many years of a game called World of Warcraft. One of the largest things I remember was the Wrathgate, and honestly there was maybe a few hundred people there at most, and they all got slaughtered. You know, there's not been a proper good war. Battlefield Barons doesn't feel like war, don't get me wrong, I thought it was a pretty cool thing, I enjoyed it, I like it, but it's not war, don't delude yourself, Blizzard. It's a few, you know, it's sort of random scatters of NPCs to kill. They never really have done a full war in this game, and they really need to at some point. And I feel that if 5.4 is the culmination of this war, then we're not going to get just something that feels like a traditional war. I think the best they've ever done is like Ashen Vale, Northern Barons, that kind of thing. Anyway, moving on. He said that there was a lot of talk about this Alliance fistpump moment, which was supposed to come, and apparently that's Siege of Orgrimmar. I don't think that's right, because as an Alliance player, okay, it's cool, but we know that Orgrimmar is just going to go right back to whatever horde comes after Garrosh, because Garrosh isn't the horde, he is his horde. There's a difference there. It doesn't feel like an Alliance fistpump moment. Our lore, our characters has just been so watered down and made so they mean nothing really, that it's hard to have some sort of Alliance fist pump moment. Nothing really that awesome happens. It feels more like Y'Shaarj and corruption and that kind of thing is the real enemy rather than Garrosh. And Blizzard always do this, they just cannot have a war. It has to have some ultimate something, an ultimate something else, someone gets corrupted. Okay, Garrosh didn't get corrupted, but he sort of corrupted himself to use it for power. He's completely in control. But you know what I mean, and I think that means that there can't be a true Alliance fist pump moment when there's some sort of clutch victory due to the Alliance being great, not due to, oh look, we have this random thing, Power X, or this random artifact, or oh look, one of these characters just pulled off something which makes no sense. Nothing in Warcraft can just happen because of anything traditional, which is kind of sad because it means that when special things do happen, they're so run-of-the-mill that they're just not interesting. Now, let's move on. So they said there are lots of smaller characters that will be known to players, pretty much like cameo roles in the raid. That's stuff like Sourfang, Gammon, stuff like that. So yeah, that's cool. They also said that there was no one moment that Garrosh became evil, it was more of a slow curve from when he was a sort of sad little orc in Nagrand to where he is now, and the more he got evil, pretty much he decided that he didn't really need the other races because he perceived them as being weaker, and they said there's often characters they can't fit in, and in 5.4's case it was Sylvanas. However, they're thinking of getting her like small roles and stuff. Now, that's the current stuff talked about. Let's talk about the future. So, one of the questions was, which came first, the Old Gods or the Titans? And he didn't say, because he said it would be a massive spoiler if he were to say. However, there are lots of hints in the game, and the hints all make perfect sense within the context of which one came first. Which we don't know, but it seems like it'll definitely be a plot hook later on. If the next expansion is indeed the Dark Below, and we get to go under the sea and not into space, then I think it might be a while before we find out. He also said that we will certainly see the Naru again at some point, and they want to bring the Draenei back into the story at some point, because people don't remember, the Draenei have got pretty cool lore. You know, half their race turned into demons, they have giant spaceships, they're interesting, and I don't think they've been utilized as well as they could be. They have warships, they have giant warships in space, that's cool, okay, that is cool. Now, the dragon aspects, well, Kosak pretty much said that the aspects are pretty much done with for at least the next while. He said, you know, we probably will be interacting with them again in the future, but, you know, really, we had a lot of dragon aspects in Cataclysm. Oh, Cataclysm, it just sounds like they let Metzen go wild, and he just sort of made the same crappy lore that he's been making for the last while. Don't get me wrong, like, I think Metzen did a great job with, like, Warcraft and stuff, but just as of late, I don't know, I think they've all sort of dropped the ball when it comes to lore. Stories are, they just feel so, like, PG-13, or, you know, 7+. I know the game is rated at 12, but come on, most of the people that play it are, like, I know, based on my channel statistics, like, the median age is probably like 26 to 30, something like that. Anyway, moving on. Tirisfal is really just a hook that is there and then we need it. Now, if you don't know, under Tirisfal, if you play around with your sound settings, you can hear the rattling of chains. They said this is just a hook, like a plot hook that's there when they need it. Until then, they don't want to answer what it is because it would back them into the corner. So I'd say they probably have 3 or 4 different scenarios in their head to pull out in the future when it makes sense for story point. And honestly, in an MMO where it's constantly evolving, I think that's probably a good way to do your story. You just have to be very careful that, you know, a lot of times when people write the story as they go along, they really fuck it up. But in an MMO, I think you sort of need to do that, but you need to tread softly. Walter White, 2013. Moving on. The last thing is, basically Jesse asked Kosak, what characters are we going to see in the future, and he listed off a few. So Gallywix, they don't have an answer for Gallywix. For Rexar, they wanted him in 5.3, but they didn't have time, and they definitely want to do more with him. I think that's good because he's a pretty interesting character. As for Madan, he's a tricky character because he's like a sort of a half-breed sort of thing. But from the way Kosak talked, we're pretty much not going to see Madan for a very long time, if at all. Next up we have Magatha Grimtotem. She's the leader of the Grimtotem Tauren. And Kosak said that he would like to revisit their story, but they're not really sure when they're going to have time to do it. As for Bolvar, they said it might be a while, but he's definitely going to be involved when they revisit the Lich King story. After all, it has been about 5 years since Wrath of the Lich King, meaning that like the little incubation period thing he's done on Bolvar is going to be like awake as the Lich King and stuff pretty soon. And then we have Valyria and Terulion. They have a sort of very interesting story that they want to get back to, and as soon as that time comes, it will definitely be there. Now, I was really hoping the next expansion would be Burning Legion, and it like involve Khadgar and, you know, going out into space, and of course Valyria and Terulion would be there. But if it is indeed going to be the Dark Below, which just sounds like ugh, then then we're not going to see them for another 2 years, because I'm pretty sure the next expansion will be Rise of the Legion. I just think it's a pity. From a player sort of perspective, I think it would be nicer pacing if we went into space, because, you know, we've had Northrend in Azeroth, we've had Cataclysm in Azeroth, we've had Pandaria in Azeroth. Maybe it would be time just to go for a complete change of scenery, because at the end of the day, the South Seas and all that stuff, it's cool, but, well, we've seen the Vashir underwater tile set, we've seen the Tropical Island tile set. They're probably going to have to reuse those two, and how many more can they add? I'm sure they'll come up with stuff, but like undermine that sort of thing. But still, I don't know I don't know how much room they have for interestingness. Still, it could be good. And this has actually been a pretty long show. You know, it's weird, like, I like lore, and I like the Warcraft lore. I'm just not really too sure what I think of the current World of Warcraft lore. But anyway, that's it for this show. Thank you for watching. Please like if you like the show and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.